was Minister of the Canada Revenue Agency at that time, that the point of
I've just been informed that the minister will be violating the committee's request to stay for an hour, that she'll be running out the door in order to avoid tough questions on the Auditor General's report. She has said that she's just being informed now. It's quite astounding that the minister, having received a damning report about demonstrating her personal incompetence and failure, that she will be heading for the hills and avoiding tough questioning in just a few moments. And if I could just finish, Mr. Chair, that is my point of order. These are important questions for which the minister is accountable to Parliament. We have a report here. It says that if the agency asked an individual to provide a receipt to support a claimed expense, and the taxpayer did not provide that receipt within 90 days, the agency would automatically disallow the expense of an eligible income tax deduction.
I think
by contrast, actually, my point of order is very much in order, and I do have the floor. By contrast, for those with offshore transactions, it goes on. For example, banks and foreign countries, they could take months to provide information to the taxpayer's offshore transactions to the agency or the taxpayer.
Your point of order was time of the minister. You're getting into the Auditor General's report.
You're right, and if I could conclude, Mr. Chair.
And it's said on the agenda.
Mr. Chair.
It's said on the agenda.
Mr. Chair.
It's said on the agenda. I'll give you time.
Point of order.
It's said on the agenda, 8:15 to 8:45 for the minister. The minister agreed to stay till 8:50. Yeah. She has a cabinet meeting. You understand when you got a cabinet meeting called, you're a cabinet minister, you got to go.
Now, I understand.
The commissioner,
you said I was going to get a chance to speak.
The commissioner of the agency is here till 10:15, so there will be appropriate time. We always have the opportunity to call the minister back again.
Yeah, what I do understand about being a minister is that ministers are actually accountable to committees unless they have something to hide or are unable to answer questions.
That's
Here
good.
we have, no, excuse me. We have a report from the Auditor General, who is an officer of Parliament. It is our duty to ask questions about this report. This minister, all she's been able to do is read a few PMO talking points before running out the door and avoiding any questions about the report itself. You Mr. Chair, have allowed that to happen, just as you have done repeatedly with other ministers, where you have stepped in to protect them against answering tough questions on behalf of taxpayers. Our duty here is to ask questions about this report. So I ask the minister if she will do her duty and stay here for an hour, just like this committee, with a Liberal majority, asked her to do. Will she honour the request of the committee and stay for an hour? Yes or no?
The minister has a cabinet meeting to go to. I know, Minister, can you have to go to a cabinet minister meeting, I understand. And when we sent out the agenda, we outlined in the agenda that we would only have a half an hour with the minister due to that fact.
She might. I think she's going to agree to stay for an hour.
Madam Minister.
I think she's going to agree to stay for an hour.
Monsieur le Président. Mr. Chairman, I just wanted to say to my colleague, Mr. Poilievre, that if you had wanted me for longer, I get up at 4 in the morning, so we could have started the meeting at 6 a.m. I would have been pleased to be here. But unfortunately, I have to attend the Cabinet Committee, so I have to leave now.
To leave, I'll let Mr. Fergus finish his question, and then we'll turn to the Commissioner.
Point of order, Mr. Chair. I have a point of order.
Minister, thank you.
Point of order, Mr. Chair.
I'll go to your point of order. Thank you, Minister, for coming, and we're left with the Commissioner and Deputy Commissioner. Mr. Poilievre, and you've got about a minute left.
Yes, so this report says that taxpayers are facing harassment because the individual taxpayers face harassment so they can't provide a receipt within 90 days. While wealthy international bankers
Mr. Poilievre, that is not a point of order. You're getting into the Auditor General's report,
foreign transactions are allowed to go for months without facing any accountability from this minister's department. And that is actually something for which we have a duty under the standing orders to ask questions, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Poilievre,
you might not like that. You might want to prevent tough questions from being asked of witnesses because you want to protect your government.
Could we come to order? Could we come to order?
You're
the next round of questioner. You'll get an opportunity to have 6 minutes.
You can come to order whenever you're ready to come to order. But I'm going to continue with my point of order. I'm going to continue with my point of order.
Okay, what's your point of order?
My point of order is, we had a half an hour. This committee, even with a Liberal majority, asked for an hour. That minister did not answer a single question. She was asked pointed questions about this report. Instead, she buried her head in PMO talking points and went on, and if I could finish, and continued to burn our clock. The 5 minutes we had to question her.
6 minutes.
Oh, thank you. 6 minutes.
Point of order,
the 6 minutes that we had to question her,
Already have.
in order to get to the bottom of the details in this report, you consistently prevent us from cutting in to defend our time against that kind of abuse by ministers in your government. And then half an hour before she was supposed to leave, she gets up and runs out the door instead of answering questions about a damning Auditor General's report about the abuse of individual taxpayers and the leniency of wealthy international tax evaders. This is at the heart of what we're supposed to be doing in the Finance Committee, and I appreciate you've said before you don't like tough questions. You've said you've interrupted me. You have indeed, Mr. Chair. You've interrupted me when I've asked for yes or no questions from Minister Morneau, and now today you've allowed this minister to avoid responsibility to Parliament for a damning Auditor General's report by allowing her to testify only a half an hour when the committee asked for an hour, and by allowing her to burn what little time there was by avoiding the questions altogether. So frankly, it is the job of the chair of the committee is not to be the bodyguard of the minister. It is to facilitate parliamentarians holding ministers accountable. That is the nature of our parliamentary